Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, all you beautiful faces out there all over the world. It's your boy Mos. If you guys don't know who I am, basically this is our first ever episode, so I'm going to be introducing myself. My name is Muhammad. Most people call me Mosballin because of our main channel, which is NBA 2K related. But over here, we're going to be doing the most because it's basically all day, every day is basketball. We live, breathe, eat, everything. We don't do nothing but basketball, so we're going to be talking about this exciting NBA season. We were looking forward to start this in the bubble, but you guys know how it is. We got to stay safe. I hope everyone's staying safe and just taking care of themselves. And let's begin. So a lot of juicy things happened this offseason. This was one of the most interesting seasons in general. It was the longest season from start to finish that we've ever had, ever. The bubble play was amazing. We'll begin there by just noting there's been a lot of great plays shown by the Suns. Devin Booker and them boys put on a show going 8-0. Trying to secure their spot, but you had Damian Lillard and those boys end up pulling off the first time ever we had a play-in game. We never had that before, but we got to witness the Grizzlies and the Blazers have to play to see who makes the playoffs and play the Los Angeles Lakers, who became the NBA champs after all was said and done. They ended up being in the bubble for 90-something days, not seeing their family for most of it. It was actually really, really entertaining. I hope you guys got to witness it and enjoy it. It's actually a shame this year we're still not going to be able to see real basketball. We're not going to be able to go to games. We're not going to be able to actually feed off the crowd. That's what the NBA players didn't have, right? They didn't have home court advantage. It was a level playing field. And basically, I'm not going to say the best team won, but the team that was most ready, the team that was well coached, the team that had the good leadership was the one that came up on top, because you could see it that a lot of players didn't come in there ready to roll. You saw that a lot of rookies showed out. You had guys like Tyler Hero. Do you believe that Tyler Hero is going into his second year? That's actually unbelievable. I was sitting here looking at the rookie class. We'll go over it real quick. But some of them, you can't even believe that they're rookies because of how long last season was. I'm sitting here like, obviously Zion, he didn't play most of the first year, so it was like easy to tell, right? Zion's going into his second year, same as Ja, the reigning rookie of the year. I'm actually excited for this class because it has so much potential moving forward. But then when you go down the list and you see that like guys like Cameron Reddish, like me just thinking about it, I'm like, Cam Reddish is only going into his second year? That's ridiculous, right? You got PJ Washington only going into his second year. You have RJ Barrett. We didn't see the Knicks play in so long. You might have not even heard his name. We're actually not going to be talking about the summer league preseason stuff. There was no summer league, but the preseason more or less. We're not going to be covering that. We're just going to be talking about what's going on, basically where everyone went, because a lot of trades happened. A lot of guys signed big money. A lot of big numbers were shown this offseason, the biggest we've ever seen. We know that Giannis got the biggest deal so far that's ever been shown, and he deserves it. Two-time MVP back-to-back. He just got Defensive Player of the Year. I know he hasn't made his way out the East yet, but it's coming. They made a lot of pieces. So now we're going to be going through the rookie class. We'll talk a little bit more about the sophomore class, the guys that are going into their second year, but mainly where people are, because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, the season starts like it's about to start right now, and we have no idea where anyone is. If you've been living under a rock or you just like haven't been keeping up, because there's a lot to keep up with, I'm going to try to fill you in, and then moving forward, we'll have other things to talk about, of course. The game plan is you guys are going to be seeing this show twice a week. One time we'll have a guest. Hopefully someday you guys are going to see some NBA players, hopefully people that you guys actually look up to, whether they're influencers out here in the YouTube world. You guys can let me know who you want to see, and we're going to make it happen. But let's start off with this rookie class. We have a lot of big names, a lot of guys we've been waiting for to come into the league, like LaMelo Ball, one of the Ball brothers, the youngest of them all. You know, that Chino Hills. So LaMelo's actually coming from overseas because he's been bouncing around thanks to his father. But he's been doing his thing. We know he can play professionally. He's shown that. I'm not talking about Lithuania. I'm talking about what he was doing out there in Australia. He clearly shown that he can run with the men, and now it's time for him to put on a show as the third overall pick to the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are trying out this scheme that the Suns tried out a couple years ago with a three-headed dragon, right? They have the three point guards, shooting guards. They're kind of going small ball in a sense. I know LaMelo's not a small ball type player, but I know we said no preseason talk, but he's been putting on a show. He's been showing off his arsenal, his behind the backs. He's had some really nice bounce passes. You could see that he just knows where everyone is, the same way his older brother Lonzo was doing. Now, you have obviously Anthony Edwards, the #1 pick. There's been a lot of talk about him because after he got drafted #1, you saw all those things leak, or just him in his press conferences not knowing how to speak about how he, like his future, right? He wasn't sure to address that basketball is his first love. He said it wasn't, and people started questioning him. They're like, oh, is he going to be a bust? Is he going to actually take this seriously? And at the end of the day, these guys are hoopers. They're getting paid millions of dollars. I think they're professionals, and I think they're going to lock in. He's going to be there in Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns, some other young pieces. And I think they're going to be well coached. They're going to be a good team, good, young, fun team to watch for sure. I'm excited to see all these young guns on these respective teams. You got, obviously, James Wiseman out there in Golden State. Unfortunately for Golden State, we were really looking forward to them contending this year. We thought they had a really good shot at being one of the favorites for sure. And then we saw Clay get hurt early. So that's always a shame, especially when it's not even like physical contact. You know it's something bad. And we found out it was an Achilles. So we wish him all the best always. There's been a couple injury news here and there, but as always, we wish the best for every player going into the season and throughout the season and just in their career overall. We saw the Knicks end up taking Obi Toppin. We always wish him the best. He's shown that he's been able to play out there in college, and I think he fits well with RJ Barrett. He fits well with, I know they have a lot of power forwards and big men with Randall, Mitchell Robinson, but I think that team can have potential moving forward. I honestly can't see them being as bad as they've been over previous years. If you guys don't know, I'm from New York. Unfortunately for me, I've been a Nets fan since they were in Jersey. Terrible, terrible years. I'm trying my best. I won't be biased in anything I ever say. I might make some jokes about the Knicks, though, because it's easy. You can kick them when they're down, but we always wish them the best. Hopefully, they're going to be successful. You had Karl Anthony actually slipping this year in the draft. We thought he'd be a lot higher, but I know we said no preseason talk. He just had a game winner the other day. He's shown that he can play. He's going to be pretty well. You had Denny go to the Wizards, the first ever Israeli lottery pick ever. That's actually really awesome for him. I wish him the best. I know he's going to do great things. He's putting his country on the map. There's been other Israelis obviously in the league, but being a lottery pick is big time. I'm going to start talking about each team individually. So let's start off with Atlanta, who made a lot of moves. Atlanta looks completely different, not just because Vince Carter retired, not because of that. Obviously, they got Trey coming back, Cam Reddish, as we said. They had Collins coming as well. But when you look at it, they obviously drafted Onyeka. I really don't know how to say his name. I'm going to be honest. Onyeka, the guy from Chino Hills, the big man, the one that won a championship with the 3 Ball brothers, right? He got drafted 6th overall. They got Danilo Gallinari, the Italian from OKC. He's been bouncing around a little bit, but we all know he can play. Whenever you ask any NBA player or hear him talk, they say Danilo's the guy that looks like he can't, but he is fundamentally sound. He can score, and he's a bucket. So they got him. They added Rajon Rondo, championship pedigree. Not just that, you got leadership, right? You got leadership. You have the IQ and all that to help Trae Young develop. Vince Carter was there. People are always asking, why is Vince on a team? He's 42 years old. He really can't jump. He doesn't play. No, it's all about leadership, what you teach the young guys, the mentorship. And Rajon's going to do that to Trae Young. They're not paying him just to come play. Obviously, he can. He showed it on the Lakers. But he's going to be there to do a lot more than just that. They added Chris Dunn from Chicago, which I was surprised about. They got Solomon Hill from Miami. And then the big piece that we did not expect to be here. I never expected this guy to even leave Sacramento. But Bogdanovic, the young boy, this kid actually has so much potential. And we saw that he was going to go to Milwaukee. That's what we thought was happening before, like, basically when this all started. We were like, oh my, Bogdanovic is going to Milwaukee. Him and Giannis, this is going to be insane. And then it turns out that never went through. And now he's in Atlanta. That kid can ball. He's a bucket getter. And honestly, they didn't lose too much. All they really lost was Jeff Teague when we talk about it. Jeff Teague was a big piece. But now that they have Trey, and he's a developing piece, as well as Rondo, it's not a big deal. So where did Jeff Teague go? Jeff Teague ended up signing with Boston. So he's going to be playing under Brad Stevens. So Boston ended up getting 3 draft picks. Well, they drafted 3 players. We know Ainge has so many pieces, so many picks to deal with. So he did his thing with that. They added Tristan Thompson. They got him from the Cavaliers. They also gave the 2-way contract to Taco Fall. We're waiting for him to play. We saw all those memes. If you didn't see that, Brad Stevens was saying that Jason Tatum got taller. He's now 6'10" instead of 6'9", 6'8", and it was all jokes because when Tatum put a picture of him with Taco Fall, he looks like he's 5'4". You had Gordon Hayward leave. He's now in Charlotte. So we wish him the best because he's been having a lot of injuries. Shout out to his agent getting him the big bucks, though. We saw he got injured a couple days ago, but hopefully it's nothing big. They said it was something with his finger. So we'll hopefully see him on the court soon, especially playing with LaMelo. We know he's going to get his touches. They also lost Brad Wanamaker. He was going to Golden State. Now we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets. Once again, no bias. I'm actually not a big fan of this team, but that's a whole nother story that we're never going to get into. But the Brooklyn Nets, they ended up getting Jeff Green. They signed him from the Rockets pretty much. Jeff Green is now officially on the same team as Kevin Durant, the guy who he played with when they first were introduced to the league, more or less, with the Seattle Supersonics. They played with each other in the Thunder. And then Jeff Green went through all that heart trouble. So thankfully, it's good to see him back. It's good to see him bowling again. He's actually a really good player and a fundamental piece to hopefully a team that's going to build and become something. They obviously have Kyrie. They have Kevin Durant, who they paid the max, knowing he wasn't going to play a full year. And I'm sure every team was willing to do the same thing. They knew that that was going to be a key piece to their future. And now they also let Jamal Crawford walk. They got rid of Musa, who I was surprised about because that kid was really, really good. We heard rumors of them chasing for James Harden, but as of right now, while recording this, he has not been moved at all. We're also hearing things about them not being interested anymore. But they did make a trade that landed them Landry Shamet, the guy from the Clippers, who's actually a great defender. He can shoot. And that was a great piece. They did a trade, a three-way trade with the Pistons. They also got Bruce Brown as well. So they've gotten a couple new pieces to add. I was surprised about the Jamal Crawford thing, especially that the league, you guys may not know this, a lot of different sports have been doing a lot of things, especially what's going on with the pandemic right now. Now instead of like the 13 active roster spots or 12 that it was before, now you have 15. So you're adding an extra 2 pieces to every roster. So I'm surprised that a lot of guys aren't signed, like Isaiah Thomas. I'm surprised he's not on a team. Crawford as of now. There's a lot of veterans in the league that aren't on any teams that I'm surprised haven't been picked up yet. But I guess teams are just waiting to see what happens, how their team actually looks in the first couple weeks, month of the year. And we're going to wait and see what they end up doing. We talked a little bit about the Charlotte Hornets, so I'm not going to get into too much detail. But we thought LaMelo was their key piece moving forward. We thought he would be their guy that they're basically going to build around, right? But it seems like he's not even getting starter minutes yet. He's not in their starting lineup. They're still going with Rozier as well as Graham. And rightfully so. They both had amazing years last season. So it makes sense that you're working him into the rotation and all that. But I'm just surprised. You're a 3rd overall pick. You're not letting him play yet. But once again, this is preseason stuff. We're not into the season, so we're going to wait and see what he actually does. Maybe they're just letting him get his legs under him, get used to the NBA talent. They got Gordon Hayward, who we talked about briefly being injured. So hopefully we wish him the best as well. And they picked up Bismack Biyombo, who we've seen actually do some great damage with LaMelo in the pick and roll. So I'm excited to see that team moving forward because the Charlotte Hornets really haven't had anything to be proud of, nothing to really get fans watching. So now this will hopefully be it. They got the 2 Martin brothers, so we're excited to see how they move. One team that I was surprised didn't do much movement was the Chicago Bulls. So the Chicago Bulls got the 4th overall pick. They took Patrick Williams, who I think is a stud. I think he has great potential. He has an NBA ready body. I don't know why I said it that way, but he really does. He's ready and fit to run in the league. Then they also did one move, like we said, they moved at Chris Dunn. They moved a couple pieces. They picked up Garrett Temple from Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn was trying to move a lot of their guards and a lot of pieces to try to get like big names. But the Bulls are just kind of running with what they had. They have a lot to build on. They got a new coach moving forward. So I think that coaching staff change is going to help Zach LaVine. It's going to help Markkanen. We've seen those guys be discouraged so much in the past. We've seen them not be able to listen to Boylen and like just sound or seem disinterested. So hopefully this change in leadership is going to help that team and take them to the next step. Now let's talk about Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't had anything too proud to talk about since obviously LeBron, but they're moving some pieces around. They're trying to figure out things. They re-signed Delly. Shout out to Delly for coming back. They drafted a guard, which is surprising because they're so guard heavy right now. They have Sexton over there. They have Kevin Porter Jr., who we always wish the best, right? Kevin Porter Jr. has been going through a lot mentally. Like mental issues is something that NBA players have been putting a reach like trying to address to the world, because we expect that, oh, these guys get paid millions, they don't have issues. Oh, let me hide my issues because men can hide it. No, everyone goes through certain issues, and it's not something you should be scared of or be worried about. This is something you can talk about, something you have to get off. It's very, very important to be mentally safe and stable. And I'm not saying that as something bad. I'm just saying, like, you have people to talk to. So if you guys ever need to reach out, all my links are down below. You can feel free to shoot me a message at any time. So we saw that the Cavs ended up losing Tristan Thompson to the Boston Celtics, but they ended up picking up JaVale McGee, another champion. Well, I'm saying another champion as in he just got a championship with Golden State, just won one with the Lakers, and now he's going to Cleveland just to get paid the big bucks. You got to respect the hustle. Some people wait their whole lives trying to win a ring, right? They go chasing it. But no, this guy actually got his rings, and now he's chasing the bag, which we respect, and he's out there doing his thing. They also got Thon Maker from the Pistons. So in that team, with what's going on, I know they got Drummond over there. I don't know what they're trying to do with him, but they have so many big assets to that team that I don't know. They got to start making trades. They got a lot of guards. They got a lot of bigs. They need that small forward spot kind of covered. I know they got Seti, but they just need an extra piece there. Now the Dallas Mavericks, they have a young wonder boy, right? They call him Wonder Boy. His name is Luka Doncic. We know that he's going to be an MVP candidate for years to come, right? Him and hopefully a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. We haven't seen that yet. They made a big move. They got rid of Seth Curry, who right now is number 3 around there, right? He's top 3 in three-point percentage all time, which I know he hasn't taken a lot, but that guy can hit. He's actually going to Philly, who we haven't talked about yet, and they got Josh Richardson, a guy that can defend and still hit the ball. So I think that was a big addition to that team. Josh Richardson can ball. We've seen him do great things in Philly, and I think he has a lot of potential alongside Luka. He could be, I'm not going to say their third missing piece, but he's going to definitely help that team's dynamic moving forward. They also picked up James Johnson. They signed Willie Cauley-Stein and J.J. Barea. Shout out to Mark Cuban, one of the only owners that will ever do this. He signed J.J. Barea just to give him his money and then released him. So he got him paid one last time and told him, I'll see you later, man. Thank you for all you've done. We'll move on to the Denver Nuggets, one of the last remaining 4 teams in the bubble. They really, I don't think they got better, to be honest. I think they not got worse. Actually, let's be real. Let's talk this, break it down. They lost Jeremy Grant, who was a tremendous piece to that defense. He had offensive moments, but mainly he was there for defense, and he helped play his role. He knew his role, and he did it well. Now, without him, Michael Porter Jr. is going to have his moments, his time to shine, right? That move might help his development, so we're not going to say it was a bad move, right? They got RJ Hampton in the draft as well as Zeke, which are 2 guys that have potential. Obviously, Jamal Murray and Jokic are something special. They're going to be something special for years to come. They have a genuine friendship. You could see it from their off-the-court stuff as well as their on-court stuff. You could tell they just like enjoying each other's company, playing with each other. And that's something that's very important. You don't see that often in the league, and that's where problems occur. We're not mentioning any teams yet, but I'll bring one up in a little bit. They ended up picking up Jermichael Green, who can maybe hold that defensive role that Jeremy Grant had. Obviously, he's not the same type of player or the same energy, but he can contribute to that team for sure. They've also lost a lot of pieces, like a lot. They lost Mason Plumlee and just so many pieces that we'll talk about if we get to them. But right now, let's move on to the next team. Let's go on and talk about the Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball. What did Detroit do? Detroit gave a chance to one of the Ball brothers, the last Ball brother of them all. We know Lonzo was the number 2 overall pick. LaMelo was the number 3. The first time brothers went in the top 3 ever. And then we were all waiting for LiAngelo, who hasn't had a chance. We've had moments where his father said he wouldn't make the league. So many announcers said he would never make the league, and commentators. And honestly, when Detroit signed him for a non-guaranteed, it was just him kind of fighting for his spot. They were giving him a shot. We were kind of excited. We were like, whoa, 3 Ball brothers finally made the league. People started giving credit to LeVar for the first time, and his shot has been waived pretty much. He got shot down. They told him no more. And I was surprised by that because Detroit doesn't really have, no offense to any Detroit Pistons fans. They had a great couple years for sure, that dynasty back in the day. 1, they had the Bad Boys. 2, they had the Chauncey Billups run team, right, where they had no superstar or even mainly all-stars like that, right? You never think of any of them like that, but they had pieces that would win championships, right? They had an amazing core built together, and now, right now, only thing you were really looking at is, oh, Derrick Rose is still there. Oh, Blake Griffin when he's healthy. And then people were like, yo, we're going to watch him because of LiAngelo. So that's not happening. But they took Musa from my Nets. They got Dwayne Dedmon from the Hawks, right? Dwayne Dedmon's a big that can maybe run with Blake until we figure out what they're doing with D Rose and Blake and all that. And then they got 4 draft picks this year. Killian Hayes, who was taken 7th. They got 2 picks in the mid, like 16 to 19. They had the 16th pick, 19th, and then they had that late 38th pick. But all these young guys, they're going to give him a shot. They're going to let them get a run for their money. And Detroit will be back. We know that. They will be back. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about the dynasty. It might have fallen, but as of now, we're still calling it a dynasty. They had a lot of great years with Steph and Klay and Draymond running that team, right? Being the core pieces. Unfortunately, like we mentioned, Klay has been hurt. But they try to make some moves here or there. They got Wiggins, obviously, last year. But they just drafted Wiseman, who can be a big help for that team. I'm not saying he's going to come in and do something that they've never seen before. I'm saying that he can develop into something special in the long run. We don't have traditional bigs anymore. We don't have bigs that can bang down low. But this kid, I feel like he has a really unique skill set and can do a lot of different things. So hopefully they can develop him. We'll see what Steve Kerr is all about. Hopefully Steph can stay healthy this year. We know he wasn't able to do that last year, so we're hoping that he can this year. They picked up a big piece in the social media community. A lot of people are going insane that this man is now a part of the light-skinned killers. I don't know how this channel is moving so far. I thought it was going to be more professional, but I guess not. Maybe we could be more laid back. Let me know what you guys think. But Tsunami Papi is officially a Warrior. Yes, we are talking about the light-skinned, colored eyes, the guy that just got engaged, guys. I'm sorry to tell you. But stop talking about him like that. Kelly Oubre. Yes, Kelly Oubre. He's actually been bouncing around the league a lot lately, and I'm not sure why. I'm honestly not sure because he can defend. He has tremendous throwdown dunks. I think one team just got to give him a shot and let him keep rolling. I think he has a lot of flair. He's exciting. A lot of people like him. The fans love some Kelly Oubre for whatever reason it is. But the Warriors honestly didn't lose any pieces this year. They haven't lost any key pieces besides obviously Klay. It's a shame. We really were looking forward to seeing that team compete with the LA teams, with Denver. I wanted to see the Steph, Damian Lillard matchups. So one thing happened on social media. I don't know if you guys saw, but Dame was shooting from pretty much half court as he always does. Logo Lillard. You guys know what it is. And Steph was like, why don't we shoot those only at the end of shot clocks and all that? Why don't we start shooting that in the beginning? Like just pulling up. And they do that sometimes. So Dame said, first game, let's do it. Opening night. Both of us pull up from half court and let's let it fly. They both shoot it very high percentage. I know some people like Paul George think it's a bad shot. But if you practice and you do what you're supposed to do off the court, and you're not off the court, but you know what I mean, like off the game, like you're just playing and practicing those shots, they're not bad shots. You keep taking them. So be on the lookout for that opening night. Look out all season. We know those two can hit it at a high clip from anywhere. You might have to guard them 94 feet and be in their grill like Patrick Beverly and all that, but you'll still get lit up more times than not. Now we're here to one of the juiciest teams in the league. Oh man, where do we begin with the Houston Rockets? Houston had made one of the biggest moves that no one expected, honestly, right? Last year, they picked up Russell Westbrook. They were like Russell Westbrook and James Harden on the same team. They're remaking that connection. Mix me with Kevin Durant, going with Kyrie. It's cool. We don't need him. We don't need that third piece. We're going to do our own thing. They're good friends. And it didn't work. It was a one-time trial. I don't know what happened at the end of the year. I thought they were going to keep it moving. We thought, as a community, we thought the issue was their small ball, right? They matched up versus the Lakers, and they were too big for them, literally. Anthony Davis, LeBron, all of that, like you're just too outmatched, oversized. You can pull it off for a couple games. Shout out to PJ Tucker for doing it way more than I thought he could. But honestly, after the coaching change, I was like, okay, no more D'Antoni. Maybe they get a coach that gets in a big man and then they figure it out. Maybe they just like needed a little tweaks. They lost their GM, which made no sense to me either. That guy was doing everything necessary. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to hear all your comments. Let me know anything that you disagree with me on. Obviously, I'm not only speaking facts. Some of it is facts, like, oh, this guy went here. But I'm putting in some opinions in there, so feel free to let me know what you think. But as of right now, I'm trying to figure out who has more of the say? Is it the GM or the coach? Because I think the coach has a bigger influence on the GM. Like, you kind of tell him, like, oh, this is the direction I want this team to be pushed, right? Like, if as me, I've been coaching, and I kind of get the pieces that I need. Obviously, not at that scale, but I kind of know, like, I want this player on my team, right? So I think he does that to a degree. So I don't think Morey had any issues. I think he was a great GM, and now he's in Philly. He's going to do a great job there. But, like, seriously, I don't know how this Houston Rockets, like, dynamic hadn't worked out. Like, they got to give it another shot. Get a big man in there. You literally had P.J. Tucker, who's 6'6", running your center position, right? Obviously, that's tough. He's going to be beaten up a lot of times, and you just don't have the right pieces with their switch defense. I love it. It's great that you switch everything. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't the right fit, the right pieces to actually win a championship. This year has been so weird that we're seeing things happen and we don't understand a lot of it. So out of nowhere, we heard James Harden say, I want out, get me out of here. And we were all like, wait, what? And then Russell Westbrook was like, okay, I want out too. So they dished, they let him sail, they flew him out, however you want to say it. Russell Westbrook to another team. Now, if I say this to somebody who has no idea what happened, you're like, okay, I wonder what they got, right? There wasn't much interest around the league, which is, I'm not going to say surprising, but it can be to a certain degree. I know Westbrook has a lot of bad criticism. A lot of people don't like him, but you can't knock his heart. The guy plays hard every day. He tries his hardest, and we got to respect him for that. We give him his credit. Now, why would you trade Russell Westbrook for a guy that plays almost exactly the same? John Wall. I'm not saying John Wall isn't more efficient. I'm not saying John Wall isn't more pass first, because he is. But John Wall hasn't played in 2 years. Can we not forget that? They have pretty much same contracts, right? Pretty much. They're both getting paid big bucks. But basically, the Houston Rockets were like, let me get John Wall, and you guys can have Russell Westbrook. We'll try it. It's just flip-flop. So in the past, I've said this a lot, right? In general, if you guys know me, we've said that there's 3 teams that should just swap their guards around to try to make it work, because they have great guards. I just think they're like one switch away from making it be incredible, right? That was the Damian Lillard CJ pairing. You had the Bradley Beal John Wall pairing, and there was a third pairing that's not even coming to my head right now, right? But I felt like if you just switch those guards, just one piece to each team, you can make it be phenomenal for all 3. So now this one is actually weird because Bradley Beal and John Wall have a great relationship. Amazing. We know that when John Wall's mother passed away, RIP, basically Bradley Beal left the team as well, and he drove out there to see John Wall and be with him. He was calling him every day. He tried to stay with him all the time. He didn't really care about what was going on in basketball. He was the first person to go down to him as soon as they heard the news, right? He was there in the room with him, and he just tried to comfort him. Like, they're really close friends. And the fact that Bradley Beal said he didn't want to leave because he wanted to stay with John Wall. Everyone was saying Bradley Beal was going to LA. Remember that? Because he bought a house out there. And then he was like, no, I want to stay here. I want to play with John Wall. And then what did Washington do? Get rid of him. They brought in John Wall. I mean, yeah, right? I just said they brought in John Wall because that's what it seems like. They just brought in Russell Westbrook. Pretty much the same thing. A lot of people were saying that. It's like you're trading a dollar bill for 4 quarters. You're getting the same thing in return. It's just in the different aspect. You know what I'm trying to say? They actually got another big piece. They picked up DeMarcus Cousins as well. So now you got Cousins and John Wall on the same team again like they were in Kentucky. That could be interesting. And for some reason, James Harden doesn't really want to play with them. We've been seeing in the preseason, they look really good. John Wall looks like he hasn't lost a step for a guy that hasn't played in 2 years. DeMarcus Cousins looks pretty good as well from what we've been seeing more or less. He's been going through bad injuries though in the past. So 2 years in a row, he's had bad injuries. So we're hoping he can stay healthy this year. He's basically went through the same stuff Clay is going through now, but in reverse. If you look at both their injuries, they're literally reversed order. So as always, we wish all basketball players healthy times because the NBA isn't the same without them. We need them at their best because that's how we enjoy it as fans. I don't know how some of you guys on social media, I see you guys on Twitter all the time. I have a new Twitter. It should be right here on the screen. So make sure you follow us there. You guys can send me anything questions or anything, and we'll put them in future videos, all that stuff, right? But right now, I'm just trying to understand how some of you guys are out here like, oh, I hope this guy gets injured. Oh, it's great that this guy gets injured. Don't do that, please. First, karma is bad. Karma is a real thing, right? Even if you don't believe in that, maybe you don't, maybe I don't, who knows? But at the end of the day, just don't do that. Why would you wish bad on someone? we're in a time where everything bad is happening. So let's bring in positivity always, and let's keep it pushing. So now I'm actually going to read this off because it's a really long list and I'm not going to remember it at all. But all the players that Houston has lost. They lost Jeff Green to the Nets. We mentioned that. They've lost Bruno. Okay. They lost Amari Carroll, Tyson Chandler. They lost Michael Frazier, Gerald Green, Luke Mbah-a-Moute, Austin Rivers, who went to New York, Thabo Sefolosha, and William Howard, who honestly, no offense to you, William, I honestly didn't even know you were on the team, like, to be fair, okay? They also lost Robert Covington, though, who is a huge pickup for the Trailblazers, but we'll talk about that when we get there, when we get to Portland. And they obviously lost Russell Westbrook. So as of now, I don't really know if they have a full roster. I don't know what's going on. They've picked up Christian Wood. They got a young draft pick, so we'll see how they do. The Indiana Pacers didn't do much movement. We heard of a lot of trade rumors, right? We've heard of like Miles Turner to the Boston Celtics. We've heard of a lot of things like that, but nothing happened. All they did was draft somebody. They let TJ Leaf leave, and they lost a couple of little pieces here in free agency there. So they're going to try to run it back with Malcolm Brogdon, who's been playing really well, Miles Turner and Sabonis, which is, I think, a great combination in a sense. I wish they would split only because then they could reach their full potential for each of them. But as long as they're happy playing with each other, now they got a hopefully healthy Oladipo coming to the mix. And they got something to be proud of. I think they're going to be competitive, and I'm excited to see that team play. Now, let's talk about one of those LA teams. Ooh, who do we start with? What about those Clippers, who at one point were the favorites for most of last season? They lost a piece that no one saw coming. I think it blindsided the whole world, honestly. I don't even think, not even the guys on his team knew it was coming. Nobody saw it coming, but Montrezl Harrell left the Los Angeles Clippers somehow, some way, after all those talks of them being the best team in LA. They were saying it, not the world, which they were too, but they were saying it, and then he didn't want to run it back. He left. We'll talk about where in a second. But they got Serge Ibaka to replace him, which isn't a bad replacement. That's a great, great replacement. Serge has shown that he can do a lot of different things. He was in Toronto last year, if you weren't following him, and he was able to still block shots. He's able to get his buckets. He's Air Congo all day. You know he's going to do his thing. Serge Ibaka, whatever you want to call him, he's going to do it. He's going to get the job done. So that was a great pickup for them. We saw that they lost Shamet. We talked about that the Nets took that off their hands. But they got Luke Kennard to replace him, who is a shooter. And they need some shooting on that team because clearly some guys weren't able to shoot in the bubble. They re-signed Reggie Jackson. They're bringing him back again. I don't know what they're doing with their point guard, with like Pat Bev and Reggie Jackson. I know they gave a lot of the role to Kawhi Leonard, who said he doesn't want that role. He showed that he had, I'm not going to say trouble, but he needs a point guard on that team. Like, even if it's not for the whole game, but for parts of it. Like, he had Kyle Lowry, he had Tony Parker. Now, guys that are just defenders, more or less. Like, Reggie isn't just a defender. He can do a little more. So I'm surprised they haven't put him into the starting lineup yet. We'll see what they do this year. But they got Batum as well. Nicholas Batum is a good 3-and-D player. He can do it on both ends. Like, he's a great defender and can still knock it down. So even after the Montrezl loss, as well as Shamet, they still didn't downgrade too much. They also lost Michael Green, we talked about. But I feel like they did pretty well this offseason for sure. They're obviously still one of the favorites in the league, especially out west, as well as their older brothers. Yes, they will always be their older brothers. No offense to Clipper fans out there, but you got to earn it, right? You got to beat up on your brother a couple times. But as of right now, you're still the younger. It doesn't mean you're not going to be better one day. But the Los Angeles Lakers still have your number for sure. So that's where Montrezl went, isn't it? They came, according to LeBron, this is what he said. We came knocking on our neighbor's door, and he came answering and basically left. So that was actually really surprising. We saw Patrick Beverley really shocked. Once again, it wasn't just players. It was a lot of people all around. So we're saying they got the sixth man of the year, Montrezl, and they got the reigning sixth man, Dennis Schroeder, who LeBron said is, who do you call him? Dennis the Menace? Dennis the Menace is now a Laker as well. That's a good home for him. I actually been a fan of him. That kid, the German, I don't know. I was going to give him a nickname too. But now we'll go with Dennis the Menace. Shout out to Dennis Schroeder. We got another Spaniard going out to LA. So we saw Ibaka, who made his way from Toronto. We got Marcus Gasol, who's making his way from Toronto as well. But he's obviously in the other locker room in LA. He's with the Lakers. So they picked up Marcus Gasol to make up for JaVale. They also got Montrezl just to take something away from their little brother, right? They just wanted like, yo, you can't have this. Let's take it. They picked up Wesley Matthews, who's a great shooter, and obviously he can still play. We've seen him do it in the past for many, many years. They picked him up instead of Danny Green, who they let go We'll talk about Green in a second. But they re-signed a bunch of pieces. The biggest one being Anthony Davis. They got the re-sign on AD, which was huge. A lot of people were saying we're going to watch him walk. He's going to go to Chicago. He's going to go here. He's going to go there. No, he wants to play with LeBron. So he's staying for a lot longer. They re-signed their Morris twin, Markieff. They re-signed Jared Dudley, which I know a lot of people always clown him on social media, but no, Jared Dudley is a locker room guy. We talked about how important it is to have someone, a mentor, a leader in the locker room. He's got that. I know they have LeBron and other things, but no, you need a guy who's good with every personality. Shout out to Jared Dudley. I'm going to get him on this show one day. I promise you guys that, all right? You heard it here first episode. Jared Dudley is going to be here one day. And last, they signed a younger brother, Kostas, Giannis's younger brother, who's the champ. So shout out to Greece having a representation of a champion. So obviously the Lakers didn't just add pieces and not lose anything. They obviously lost some pieces too. You can't just get everything and not lose anything. So they've lost JaVale, which we talked about. We briefly said Danny Green's name. We'll talk about him a little more when we get to his team. They've lost Rajon Rondo. They also lost Dwight Howard. They waived Quinn Cook, and then they ended up re-signing him after they dropped him. So congrats to Cook. Avery Bradley left them to go to the Eastern Conference champs, the Miami Heat, and then J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters are no longer on the team as well. Now we'll go to the Eastern Conference defending champs since we just talked about the Lakers. Let's talk about them. We just said Avery Bradley signed with them. They basically got Jimmy Butler doing his thing. They're going to stay with that. Obviously, Tyler Hero, we saw what he was about in the bubble. Other people saw it too, such as Jack Harlow. That's another story. But they also picked up Maurice Harkless from the New York Knicks. And they let a couple pieces which were surprising leave, right? They let Jay Crowder walk, which I guess they don't need fully, but he can perform and he helped them a lot during that season. He had moments where he couldn't hit anything, but there was moments where he was a big piece. So it's surprising to see him walk. They let Solomon Hill leave, as well as airplane mode Derrick Jones Jr., Mr. Not 9 out of 10, according to Dwayne Wade, Mr. 10 out of 10. Now, one of the most exciting young teams in the league right now are the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, because of Ja Morant, right? Little Ja. You know how I feel about him if you watch me on my other channel. But they got that grit coming back, the old grit and grind that the Memphis Grizzlies had, now with a little bit of show, a little younger, a little hipper. They lost Josh Jackson to the Pistons. We mentioned that. They really didn't make any pickups. I think they're kind of just going with what they have. They did pick up Hizonia, though. That was pretty solid pickup. And then the rest were draft picks. So nothing really to say about Memphis. I'm excited to see what they got going and how they're going to run this year. They're one of the most exciting teams, in my opinion, moving forward. We'll kind of start speeding this up. It's hard to remember all these names, so bear with me. Like I said, there's a lot that happened this offseason. So we're going to just speed through this, and then we'll talk at the end, right? So we'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, who are, I'm not going to say a favorite, but they've always been, right? They were the favorite kind of last year, especially having the two-time MVP. So now they picked up Drew Holiday. So according to most people, he's one of the best point guard defenders. Almost every player we've heard interviewed said that. So I'm excited to have him there. They picked up other guys such as DJ Augustine. They got Nick Stauskas now, Bobby Portis. But then when you start looking, they lost a lot of pieces, right? Eric Bledsoe and George Hill were both basically traded out of there. They lost Wesley Matthews. Robin Lopez is no longer there. There's like a lot of pieces where you look at, they waived Ersan Ilyasova. Marvin Williams retired. Marvin, thank you for your services in the league. We enjoyed watching you play. Now, Minnesota, like I said, we're speeding up. So try to keep up with me as we go along. We got Minnesota, who we talked about briefly also. We said they're exciting and all that because they got Anthony Edwards now to pair up. They got Ricky Rubio now on that team. And then key pieces they lost were like Evan Turner, Allen Crabbe, James Johnson. Now we'll go to the Pelicans, who've made some moves. The Pelicans are exciting to watch. You guys know that because of obviously Zion, who we're hoping stays healthy throughout his career. They got Eric Bledsoe and they got Steven Adams. Can you just sit there and imagine for a second? You're going up against the Pelicans, right? You're going to have to run through screens if you're a guard or a shooting guard, right? Especially if you're a shooting guard. You're going to have to run through screens all day set by Steven Adams and Zion Williamson. You're going to wake up so sore. They also got the re-sign on Brandon Ingram. They did a good job with that. That man got paid. He didn't have the career he wanted to in LA, but he found a good home in New Orleans. Now, the pieces they lost were Drew Holiday, like we said, Jahlil Okafor, Derek Favors. They lost Etuan Moore. I heard he's a real professional from a lot of players. So the shout out to Etuan Moore. He's now in Phoenix. We're not up to Phoenix yet, but we're going to be there soon. The New York Knicks, we said they drafted Obi, who we wish the best as always. They got Alec Burks from Philly. They got Nerlens Noel from OKC. And then Austin Rivers tried to get a new home. I know he wanted to go with Doc Rivers in Philly, or a lot of people were saying that. And Doc was like, nah, we're good. We don't want him. And it kind of makes sense that a father doesn't want to play with his son, especially that they tried that before. It's not a good dynamic. So he's going to New York, as well as Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They lost Bobby Portis, Maurice Harkless. They lost Damian Dotson. They waived Taj Gibson and Wayne Ellington as well. Now OKC, big draft pick they got. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not going to mention him. His face is on the screen right now. You guys can see it. They got Al Horford from Philly. They got Ty Jerome. They got a lot of pieces, actually. They got Trevor Ariza, who got bounced around, I think, 4 times this offseason. Or maybe it was 3 teams. I can't remember. I couldn't keep up with him. All I know is one day he's here, next he's here, next moment he's here. And that's all that happened. OKC added George Hill as well. They got TJ Leaf. They lost CP3, who they traded. They got so many picks. That team, that front office, they have picks for days. I think they're looking at the draft classes. Like, they're going, their scouts are out there looking at 3rd grade talent, 5th grade talent. Yo, they have draft picks for days. 1 year, they're going to draft every player in the draft. Just wait for it, okay? They're building their assets from the ground up. And one thing we know about OKC, they know how to draft. They drafted that big 3 back in the day, right? James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. They all ended up winning MVPs on their respective teams. So OKC knows what they're doing. Their front office does a great job always. So they lost Abdul Nader, who's my Egyptian brother. If you guys don't know, I'm Egyptian. He's the only Egyptian in the league right now. He's now in Phoenix as well. Steven Adams obviously was lost, who's probably been on that team the longest out of everyone since Westbrook left. Danilo is gone. Nerlens Noel. They lost some pieces. We'll go to Orlando, who didn't do much at all. This is going to be really quick. All they did was draft Cole Anthony, number 15. And then they picked up Dwayne Bacon. They lost DJ Augustine as well as Wes Iwanda. They lost Melvin Frazier. They lost a couple pieces here and there. Now, Philly, city of brotherly love. New coaching staff, right? Doc Rivers got another shot over there. They got some pieces they picked up. They picked up Champion. He won on 3 teams. Danny Green, he's won in San Antonio, won in Toronto, won in LA. So they picked up him for some experience. They got Seth Curry, who we mentioned, from Dallas. They got Ferguson over there from OKC. They picked up Dwight Howard from the Lakers. So Dwight Howard and Danny Green both left together, and they're out there in Philly now to play with Ben Simmons. A lot of rumors around Ben Simmons being traded for James Harden, but as of now, he's staying, and it's looking like that's going to be the case. They said they want to build on Ben. They like him and Embiid together. So we're going to see how Doc Rivers can use that to his advantage. They lost Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Alec Burks, like little pieces here and there. Raul Neto, really cool guy. Shout out to Raul. The Phoenix Suns, who picked up CP3, going to be a big signing. You guys don't realize how big of a trade that was. Now you have CP3 with Devin Booker, who you want to keep happy forever because you want him there. You don't want that guy to ever think about leaving. I know he's got a long-term contract still. He's still signed up. But you don't want him to be bougie like any of these other superstars and just come out there and be like, excuse me, I want to be traded. Obviously, he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but you never know. If you keep losing, you're not making the playoffs. He obviously wants to make it. DeAndre Ayton is about to have a breakout year. You can see it happening because CP3 is there, and I'm just excited for their future. Definitely. They got Jake Crowder. Jake Crowder is going to be a big piece. Etuan Moore as well, who Chris Paul raves about. So that's pretty dope. They lost pieces like Ricky Rubio, who we said went to Minnesota. They also lost Kelly Oubre, which I was surprised about. They lost Aaron Baines. Toronto fans, or actually Aaron Baines fans, I know there's a big club out there for Aaron Baines. You're out there in Toronto, and I know Canada is welcoming you with open arms because you're a big body that does all the dirty work. You don't get that much playing time, but when you do, you make yourself known. The Portland Trail Blazers, sticking with their core, of course. They're keeping Dame and CJ together. They're going to build on that till the wheels fall off. You know they want to do that. Shout out to Dame for his loyalty. Not many superstars out there would do that, to be honest. Robert Covington, they got him from Houston. He's going to be a big piece. They needed that Trevor Ariza spot filled. They definitely needed that. They picked up Cantor again. Cantor, welcome back to Portland. They also picked up Derrick Jones Jr., who we mentioned, airplane mode. So they obviously traded Trevor Ariza, his Zonia, right? We talked about those. They lost Hassan Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside is on the next team. We're about to talk about the Sacramento Kings. I like the Sacramento and what they got. That's another one of those young teams like Memphis that I really enjoy watching. So Sacramento got Hassan. They got a couple of new rookies, right? They drafted 3 new ones. One of them being Tyrese. Tyrese looks promising. He was picked 12th overall. I think he's got a bright future. They lost a couple pieces, one of them being huge, which was Bogdanovich, right? We talked about that, which was surprising. But they're letting Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox have that team. Hopefully they can stay healthy, as well as Marvin, and just hopefully they have a bright future. They also had a couple other people leave, like Harry Giles III, who's now in Portland as well. Should have mentioned that. Corey Brewer is gone. Kent Bazemore is now in Golden State. San Antonio Spurs, they don't make moves. They only build from the draft. Obviously, we've seen that millions of times. They had 11 pick this year. They ended up with Devin. We'll see what Pop has in store for that team. They lost Brian Forbes. They lost Bellinelli. Toronto, they got Baines. We talked about that. They got Alex Len. They got DeAndre Bembry. They lost Ibaka, Marcus Sol. They lost Rondae Hollis. Utah picked up Derek Favors. Also, I'm not including all the draft picks that were late, but they obviously they got their draft picks. They lost Ed Davis. Couple pieces like that. So nothing too big with Utah besides obviously that they signed Rudy Gobert to a long-term deal. He got paid over $200 million. Yes, you heard that right. 5 years, 208 or 210 or something ridiculous. I can't even remember the number from how ridiculous it sounded. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm an NBA 2K player. If you told me that the Rudy Gobert card that came out in my team, the one that could shoot threes, was getting signed to a 5-year, $210 million deal, I would tell you, yes, makes sense, 100% do it. But you tell me Rudy Gobert, who's just a shot blocker, can't shoot from anywhere in the world, I'd be like, nah, that's too much. But they wanted to lock him down. He's a 2-time reigning Defensive Player of the Year. He's obviously a great piece, him and Donovan Mitchell. So they're going to be their 2 max contract guys. So shout out to him for getting paid. He's a great guy. So I'm happy for him. Now we go to the Wizards, who just basically got Westbrook for John Wall. We said that. Their draft pick, Denny, who I'm excited about. They got Robin Lopez from Milwaukee. They also got Raul Neto from the Sixers. They lost Jerry Grant, Mahimi, Shabazz. They lost pieces. I'm not really trying to name too much, but that's pretty much it for all where people went. It's a lot of names to go down. You probably still confused what happened. I think we named over 100-something players that have moved this offseason alone. And I'm very, very excited for the NBA season to start. This is a really fast restart. We didn't expect it to start that fast. The NBA champs and the 3 other teams were just in the bubble yesterday. This season and just this whole year overall has been really, really weird. It flew and it took forever at the same time. It's hard to explain, but you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So hopefully this basketball season restarting, resuming, we're having Christmas Day games. I'm very, very excited for that. Watching Christmas Day basketball is one of the things that gets me through the year. So I was really upset that they weren't going to have it this year. A lot of people kept telling me that the season will start in January, and I was like, nah, they will never miss out on Christmas Day games. It makes them too much money, and at the end of the day, it's not all about money, but if you can somehow make it happen, they will, and they made it happen. So like we mentioned earlier, we hope every player stays healthy. I hope you guys are here for the long run. We're going to have a good ride with a lot of interesting guests, a lot of cool ones that you guys can ask me to have on the show, as well as guys that I want to have on the show. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with this. 2 days a week, like I said, the days should be and the time should be right here on the screen. Thank you guys for staying with me. Let me know which one of these trades or pickups has been the most surprising to you guys. Let me know who you guys didn't even know moved, because some days I look at it and I'm like, whoa, this guy is there. That's why we honestly need the season to start, just to get it going, to get a feel. Sometimes you just need to see people in their uniforms and be like, wait, what? You get the double take. You're just confused. I didn't know he was here, and then we're going to know. So I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited too. Let's get it. We're definitely going to have a lot of fun with this. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there. It's been your boy, Mos. Thank you for doing the most with your boy, and I'll see you guys next time.